Live from Pittsburgh, Kansas, it's Techno Kungfu with Brooks and Chandra. Here with me is Bobby Brooks, and this is Shyamal Chandra. Hi, Bobby.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Good, good, good. Do you know what's happening today? It's a big day in the media world.
I do not. I do not.
It's
I've been
Oscar
totally
night.
out of the loop.
Oscar night, man.
Oh yeah, of course the Oscars.
So I just wanted to bring up they had the red carpet ceremony is happening right now as we speak. And do you have any favorites that you push for along these lines? Some of the big names that I saw today in terms of the lead actors is Denzel Washington, Gary Oldman, Daniel Day-Lewis. Some of the women in leading roles included Margaret Robbie, Meryl Streep, and Sally Hawkins. So, any thoughts on these particular resident actors and actresses in terms of what you think of the Oscars these days, ever since its inception in your life?
Well, I think we've kind of skewed the results a little bit. Uh, like my two favorites would definitely be Denzel and Daniel Day-Lewis, but because of the hype and the media attention with Meryl, she basically has to be included, and I don't necessarily think that's true. Like whether for better or worse, what she's doing. I mean, like she's obviously she has a thing with Trump, and they're both going back and forth. That doesn't necessarily make her Oscar worthy.
Right.
Daniel Day-Lewis makes great films, and so does Denzel Washington. Not to say that Meryl Streep, who is an Oscar winner, is not viable in that position. I just don't think that it should be it should be about the art, not about her politics. Does that make sense?
Right. 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 Yeah.
Like
She
I
had the
understand, and I kind of agree with her, but I still don't think that has anything to do with her acting.
right. She had that whole speech during the Oscars,
Right.
Oscars precursor, the Golden Globes, about Trump and the issues in America.
Yeah, and and
So
and that's fine for her to have a political opinion. I absolutely, I stand behind it, but I don't necessarily think that should give her.
well, it was not Trump actually. It was the women's cause. Yeah.
Oh no,
But
she attacked Trump pretty
oh, she
vehemently,
did.
and he
She
came
did.
back.
Okay.
Yeah, he retorted on Twitter. They basically had a Twitter battle.
Right. 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 Twitter fight.
Right.
Twitter wrestling. That's pretty
And
cool.
and I get it, but that has nothing to do with her work. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Right.
Like yes, I do agree with your political opinions, but that doesn't mean that you're better than Daniel Day-Lewis
Right. Right. Right.
or Denzel Washington for like.
Do you think there's some way to prevent name recognition versus newbies from having a balanced polling when they're voted upon, rather than the name versus the neophyte or the newbie in these categories?
Well, I think a lot of it is regretfully it's political, just like politics. It's I don't think she did that to basically bump herself up, because she obviously doesn't need to. She's already an Oscar winner.
Right.
However, that didn't hurt either, and
Right.
it certainly put her up on that
Okay.
scale. Whereas, as far as I know, Denzel nor Daniel Day-Lewis have said anything political, and they just have great acting roles.
Right,
So,
right. It's like Pete Sampras versus John McEnroe or something. Kind of a
like it,
clashing. John McEnroe talks a lot on the field. Pete Sampras is very quiet and until he needs to speak. You know, they're very different. I mean, that's a terrible analogy, but it's the best I could find right now.
well, no, it's not a bad analogy. A similar one would be like someone like George St. Pierre, who's very soft-spoken, versus someone like Conor McGregor,
Okay.
who loves to, he loves to start banter.
Okay.
George St. Pierre, this is all UFC stuff, but George St. Pierre rarely talks. And when he does, he's very soft-spoken. Conor McGregor is very outspoken.
Right.
And so he gets a lot of media attention.
Yeah. Yeah. So
You get to this point where it's like, are we focusing on how good of an artist, fighter, whatever the case may be, or are we focusing on the fact that you just get more media attention?
right. Right. Are they focused on their craft or are they focused on the media attention or trying to become media, center of attention in the media?
And I don't want to step out of line and say that was Meryl Streep's intention, but that's the result.
Right. If you remember the Michael Moore Bullying for Columbine, where he used his position to talk about the Iraqi war before it happened, it, or during the process, what did you? It's very similar to that, and maybe if you look even further, you say Denzel Washington and Halle Berry getting the Best Actor and Actress Award, first African Americans, a duo in history of Oscars in the same year for the Best Actress, Best Actor, and Best Actress. So that was a big year for multiculturals.
But the thing is, if it's deserved, then obviously, well, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
However, if this is just a media hype thing, then that kind of takes away from it for them, really. I mean,
yeah,
you walk home at the end of the day going, well, I just got given this, and that's not it's not fair to them, first off, and it's not fair to anybody else either. Like
right.
It's bad on both sides. It's just no one won.
Right. And if you look at the best pictures, most of the names are unknown. Like Call Me by Your Name, Darkest Hour. The only one that resonates with me is Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk. There's Get Out. There's Lady Bird, Three Billboards, The Shape of Water, The Post with Streep and Hanks. Those are the two. The Post and Dunkirk.
And Get Out was a groundbreaking movie.
Okay, I've not seen that one.
Oh, it was a groundbreaking movie. I mean, as far as
could you describe like without telling too much of the plot, like the gist of it, like its central message?
The central message, it basically was it was a love story between well, it wasn't really a love story. I'm taking that out of context. I'm talking about the beginning. The beginning of it is a black guy falls in love with a white girl, and they get together, and that's all well and good. And then they go to her parents' house, and it's a meet the family kind of situation. And then things start to get really awkward. And it was pretty groundbreaking just because, like, it basically showed, like, subtle racism, like, not overt racism, just this subtle thing of racism.
Yeah.
and it kind of put it out in the light
Right.
that it's like not overtly racist. Like they don't tell him he's horrible because he's black, but they like it's a
It's kind of like Monsoon Wedding. Have you seen that
it
movie?
which one?
Monsoon Wedding,
No, I don't think I have.
or Bennett like Beckham.
No, I don't think I have.
It's in Bennett like Beckham. It's like a British Indian girl tries to marry I think it's a Caucasian guy or something. I don't remember which one it is, but it's an interracial marriage, and it causes all sorts of issues in the movie.
Right, and that's kind of what this was,
Yeah.
and it was pretty groundbreaking. Like it was pretty amazing.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
I think it should have been up there. Like it definitely should have been up there.
Right.
And of course Daniel Day-Lewis is Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, basically that's the last film he's ever going to do, and I think I hate to say this because I love Daniel Day-Lewis, but I think the reason they did that was because it's his last film.
Yeah.
But at the same time, everything I've heard about it is great. I actually haven't got to see it yet. But, however, I do know that when I watched Get Out, I was like, that's pretty honest. And
right. Faithful
really
to reality.
Acting.
Yeah.
It's really good acting. And I kind of think I don't, boy, it's a touchy subject. Did Meryl Streep start some beef to get an Oscar buzz? I don't know. Did she accidentally get an Oscar buzz because she happened to be doing that? I don't know, but
right.
I just think that there were some better movies.
Right.
And that's the way the chips fell.
Right. So The Post and Dunkirk are the big two names on Best Picture award. I'm watching I'm watching the red carpet. They're interviewing different people on ABC. Pretty cool. So
yeah, Dunkirk was amazing. It was amazing.
How would you compare that to the Dark Knight series, Terminator? Not Terminator, but Memento and the other films, Interstellar. What is it? Some of the other ones he's produced. How would you compare?
For a person who's not been in that genre, for the most part, pretty good. Like, well done.
So he adapted his skills to something very new, which is war film, kind of like Full Metal Jacket, Apocalypse Now, Bridge on River Kwai.
Right.
There's so many of them.
Private Ryan, and so for him adapting himself to that was, I was like, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see that coming out of you.
Yeah.
We've seen some hacky, World War II, World War I, or war movies basically. There's some hacky ones out there.
Yeah.
And that wasn't one of them. Dunkirk was pretty amazing.
Right.
I mean, it deserves to be up there. Absolutely.
Right. And I looked at the music nominations. There's two big names, Dunkirk and Star Wars: The Last Jedi. It was Hans Zimmer and John Williams, respectively. Any thoughts on the last Star Wars before The Last Jedi? Did you see that one?
I have not actually yet.
Yeah, I haven't either, so I have to see that one. So that's on my list once it comes out on Blu-ray or Ultra HD or whatever they have of it first. So yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a remake, production design. They have a remake of Beauty and the Beast, Blade Runner 2049, and Dunkirk again.
I have a feeling I'm just gonna hate the Beauty and the Beast remake. I just
Yeah, you like the Angela Lansbury song, Beauty and the Beast with Beauty and the Beast song, original Disney one, right?
Yeah, like well, and that's the funny part is I'm always, I mean, well, because of my age, I'm always going to compare it to the cartoon version, which was actually like pretty deep, really. I mean, if you think about it, like, I mean, I know we were children, but like that's a pretty deep story, and it's got a deep plot, and they did a good job. Like, so it's a high bar. It's a high bar.
Right. It's like it's done during that time when they had Aladdin, they had Lion King, they had Beauty and the Beast,
Right.
they had
We were in
Little
an
Mermaid.
age where like
That was
cartoons were epics.
And the animation studio of Disney was churning out really good stuff, you know, really hits before they went all 3D with Pixar. And prior to Pixar, they had a bunch of films before they
Yeah,
acquired.
the Lion King still holds up.
Yeah.
I mean, it all still holds up.
Yeah.
Like Aladdin still holds up. Like
Yeah,
I
the
love that
songs,
monkey.
the
I
music,
love that monkey, and
yeah,
I love that parrot.
yeah,
Like
the parrot.
you
Yeah,
know, like they built characters that were amazing.
it's kind of like Marvel or DC Comics. It's like they built up these characters so well that you
I
really
still
don't.
remember. Do you remember Anastasia?
Yeah, Anastasia. Yeah,
I loved the bat.
right.
Do you remember the bat from
Yeah,
Anastasia?
right.
Like there's so many characters that Disney built at during that period that were like just unforgettable.
Right.
Timon and Pumbaa, come on now. They had a
Oh yeah,
spin-off show that lasted forever.
that show on Disney they had and they had Marsupilami. So many good shows and Arabian Nights, spin-off from Aladdin.
Yeah, and
Um,
even later on with Madagascar, they had oh, I'm gonna blank on it now. Help me out here. Uh, the little dude who thought he was the king of everything.
yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember the.
Oh, what's his name? He still has a spinoff show, and my kids watch it, and I will watch it with them because I think it's hilarious.
The Despicable Me.
No.
That's DreamWorks. Yeah.
There's the penguins.
Oh,
The
Ice
penguins.
Age. Ice Age.
Nope. There's the
Surfs
penguins.
Up. Surfs Up.
Nope. Still not there.
Okay.
There's penguins who are like Navy SEALs, and then there's a king, and then there's a little other marsupial who hangs around with him like a sidekick, and he's the king. And man, that's gonna boggle my mind. Somebody will know it. But yeah, that show still goes on, and that's just a side project of Madagascar because they were characters in Madagascar.
Yeah.
But as far as the Oscars go, it's bringing it back. Man, it's kind of skewed right now. I really hope they do it right. Like I mean, Meryl Streep's nothing to scoff at, obviously, but like it's sort of gotten to the point where it's become political except just for her, because the other two people involved are not political.
Right.
So like they don't have a dog in that fight.
Right.
But everybody who believes and loves what she's saying is going to vote for her. Well, it's okay. First off, that's not where you're not voting about that. Like you're not
Right.
voting about her beliefs. You're voting about like how she did on screen. Like, did she do a good job? Like that's the whole point. So I think we're kind of muddying the waters of what this is supposed to be.
Okay. So moving on, let's go to visual effects. There's Blade Runner 2049, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Kong, Skull Island, the Star Wars again, Last Jedi, and War of the Planet of Apes. The 5 movies for visual effects. Which one do you think is going to win in this?
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes. Okay. Yeah.
Hands down. Hands down.
Cool.
I mean, I would love to say it was one of the other ones, but I mean, they just had it.
Okay.
You know, the way the effects were done, it was smooth.
Right.
You know, and they obviously put the time in.
Right.
I mean, not that any of the others didn't, but I mean, basically most of that movie is that.
Right. Right.
And it was seamless. Well, from what I saw, it was pretty seamless.
So do you think that the whole concept of 3D, XD, or any of these special and real 3D have really added value to the movie market, or is just like another Nintendo versus hi-fi CGI effects gaming industry, where the core of the movie gets lost in with all the CGI and all the special effects they put into it that cost millions and millions of dollars?
Right. Well, and I mean, with green screen technology, like
you can pretty much fool the eye into believing anything, right?
Right. Like basically, we just need a guy who can act like a chimp really well.
And then he's on that Coldplay song.
Yeah.
With all the other chimps, or the gorillas, or orangutans. So, yeah. They superimpose the skeleton onto the skeletal structure of the person, the three-dimensional model of the gorilla or the chimpanzee, and they call it a day, which is work, but it still cloaks the true nature. It's like if you go back in time.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say we've obviously done it before. I mean, I'm blanking my brain on the movie, but we did this before with whiteback gorillas. Like there wasn't actually a whiteback gorilla beating the hell out of some guy. Like no, we CGI'd that. I don't remember Congo. Like
Congo, okay.
Yeah, we did a pretty good job. Mike, we did a pretty good job of portraying that.
Right. Okay.
Switching up topics, I have a question for you.
Okay. Sure.
All right. So we've set a date, and we're gonna go to Mars.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard about this. Have you heard about this?
Yeah. 2030 or something, 2032 or something. That's what Elon.
How feasible do you think that is?
Well, my understanding of the situation is that they just need to figure out how to get enough propulsion to get to those particular places, and they have to think about how to create a civilization in Mars, how to grow vegetation, agriculture, and build houses that are safe, create an atmosphere which is human livable. So there's a bunch of things that have to go down, and lots of research has already been done by NASA with regards to living in Mars for a long time. They had this experiment done where they had people live in very, very secluded areas for many, many months, and they did studies on them, and they were able to figure out exactly what was going wrong with them, what type of needs they had, what things they were missing in terms of social contact with other people outside of their little pod, and that caused a big problem, and that helped a lot, and I think if you look at what Elon Musk said in his keynote about that taking us to Mars, it really resonates with me, the fact that it seemed like to me like something like he was setting up. It's like Sim City if you look at it. He had the civilization out in 2D space, and he's trying to build the proper number of resources so he can optimize the usage of land, the usage of people, their time, so everything is perfectly done. If you look at lots of urban studies work on cities, they talk about how, where should the location of the center of the town should be, or the neighborhood, where should the shops be. So the similar thing he could do. We have clean slate approach on Mars. We can do anything we want to. He has the time to do something amazing with those resources right now. And also, how do we take the resources or the manufacturing tools we have and ship them or recreate them using 3D printing in Mars? It's a very big problem, and it's something that you have to think about very carefully. I think it's doable, definitely by 2030. My opinion, that's my personal opinion, off the record. And I think, but I think the thing is, we have to do a lot of research, really quick research, try out different things on Earth. It's similar. Look at how people act. If you look at the movie 2001: Space Odyssey, you can see how that person reacted to artificial intelligence talking to him. Can you imagine a artificial intelligence talking to a human, and that's the only person he can talk to for a while? Also, how stable is the technology? Are we putting any technology that on there that's, when we're riding to Mars eventually, on some heavy, super heavy Falcon with a dragon on it? That would be a big story. That would be a big quest. What type of redundant technology? I was watching a story on the Falcon and how they have redundant processors on the command and control module, so that if there's a assertion that goes wrong, there's a software fuse or hardware fuse that self-corrects. So it just takes the best of the calculation of best of all the processors. So that type of redundancy, that type of fault tolerance is something that we have to look into. And I think a lot of what NASA does is really stretch the state of the art with regards to technology. So even if we don't make it by 2030, at least we are trying our best by pushing the state of the art, because if you look at the Pontiac Silverdome, the material that was covering the particular stadium was using NASA material that they put on the astronauts. So there's a lot of cool stuff that could be done. How do people interact when there's, how do people start new? I mean, we have the ability to start from scratch. There's so much momentum there. We can create new ways of creating cities. We can create new ways of living. We can change the books on how to live your life, how to be productive, how to internet could be done totally differently in terms of underground, the cabling. You could use totally different new technology. You could create new languages. You could create all sorts of things. There's so much possibilities open up when you're talking about a brand new planet. So
there's a lot of optimism in that, but at the same time there's a lot of speculation of how that could go horribly wrong.
Right.
But at the same time, my thought is that going back to what you were saying about the lack of human interaction.
Right.
Maybe it would be best for us to, because everybody gets vetted.
Right.
Maybe we should vet people who literally just don't need that. There are certain people that
like computer scientists. They just sit in front of a computer all day. They don't need human intervention.
I mean, short of saying sociopath or something like something negative, there are people who just don't need other people.
Right.
And I think that's kind of who you need up there right now. Like, because if we're going to do this, you don't want someone who's going to get lonely, because loneliness starts depression. Depression starts like things start to spiral.
Right.
If you can get somebody who is just basically doesn't care.
Claustrophobic too. Claustrophobic is also scary too, because it's not a very large capsule on the top of the rocket. Rocket heavy.
Right. Like I mean, it's a good thing that we're planning on 2030, because we've got some bugs and some kinks that we gotta figure out here. The who and the what and all that.
Right. Well, it says how long does it take? The Mars Science Laboratory took 254 days to reach there from the Earth.
So basically a year.
Yeah, basically a year. So do we need to use any special like cryogenics to keep their bodies asleep for that amount of time, so they come out from a deep sleep refreshed?
I don't think that would be a good thing. I think that'd be a negative. I mean, because basically now you're just throwing your entire body out of whack.
Yeah.
I mean, the human body has a sleep schedule.
You've seen that movie Interstellar, right? With Christopher Nolan, where they hit a wormhole and they go to another galaxy, part of the galaxy. Even pushing that particular question, how feasible do you think in our lifetime is it to see Kepler 525 or whatever it is? Kepler 525. Yeah, that's the one that is the living habitable place.
In our lifetime, probably not. I mean, we're making leaps and bounds in science, faster than we probably should, honestly. I mean, we're coming up with things that we barely know about, and we're using them consistently, and we're breaking things as we go along. It's growing pains is what it is.
Yeah. I really think that the Mars rover that they're bring out for the next Mars mission, without humans, sans humans, it's going to be really cool with NASA because they have all sorts of cool technology that they're putting on there. Just amazing.
Well, and this isn't even on my notes. Did you know this? And I didn't know this until the other day. Mars is not actually the hottest planet.
Right.
Like I mean, it makes sense to us logically.
Right.
But because of its atmosphere, is it Venus or Saturn? I can't remember which one. Because of its atmosphere, basically, it traps heat.
Right,
so
right.
It's actually hotter.
Okay.
No, I think it's Venus. It's Venus. It's
Okay.
not Saturn, because Saturn's all gas. So it's Venus.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it was like, I was like, huh, I didn't know that. Like, it was just one of those fun facts, I guess you could call it. Because I was like, well, I would have obviously thought that that's closest one to the sun, like, right? Like,
yeah.
Logic says.
Right. So and there's alternative ways of getting there rather than just propulsion, the typical way, that's used by NASA and other private ventures like Blue Origin and SpaceX. There's photonic propulsion, where you can get to Kepler 22b in much less time, 0.8 million years versus 23 million years, and you can get to Mars in 2 to 3 days instead of 250 days roughly. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, it would be nice, but I mean, this is the same thing as like, to me, like any form of anything that gets close to teleportation. It's like, well, as soon as you start breaking things apart, you can't guarantee they're gonna come back the same way that they started.
Right.
You get into this weird, sketchy, like in the best case scenario, yeah, absolutely, just show up exactly like they started, but you don't know that. Like it's a big worry.
And then also on top of that, you could add a artificial wormhole. You could manufacture artificial wormholes that kind of, like you said, like a space teleportation machine. That would be really cool, right? And then you just go into that particular wormhole and come out on the other side of the.
We've also looked at wormholes and been like, we may be way off on how that works. Like, because basically we're seeing one side of it.
Right. That's true.
Like, there's no guarantee on the other end. Like,
they've still not found out enough about black holes. Still, there's still lots of interesting.
Right. Yeah. They absolutely, like, what was it, a week or two ago? They were like, yeah, black holes are nothing like what we thought they were. Like, they literally just came out and were like, we were wrong. Like.
Yeah.
However, on a funnier side note, well, not necessarily funnier, but a happier side note, a comedian brought it up, and I started actually doing the research, and just to put some things into perspective, like for everybody in the scientific community, who listens to the podcast. Do you know when we showed up with the light bulb?
Right.
When was that?
That was in the 1850s, right?
Right.
By Edison.
Okay. When did we first take flight? When did Orville take flight?
1914.
Okay,
19,
when did we go to the moon?
1969.
Do you see how short of a gap that is?
So that's where
When did we have the first personal computer?
first personal computer was 19. Well, it depends on what you call personal computer. If you say personal computer would be Altair in 1970s, early 70s.
So we are making leaps and bounds so quickly. But however, that's scary because we are coming across technology so fast that we can't keep up with it.
Right.
I mean, it is awesome. It is amazing what we have managed to do in less than 100 years.
Yeah.
No one has been able to do.
Yeah. Right.
We have come so far.
Right.
In such a short period of time. I mean,
because we had these Manhattan Project-esque type of launch pads where we have competition against some other country. For instance, the atomic bomb, we had a competition with Germany. The space race, we had a competition with Russia. And genome project, we had a competition with the rest of the world, the United States versus the rest of the world, sequencing the genome. And then it became the autonomous car, the competition between U.S. and among the universities in the U.S. And then there was the DARPA robot challenge, which was between U.S. and other countries, where Koreans won first place. I mean, there's a bunch of cool instances, and it's very interesting how quickly things are evolving. And then there were lots of acquisitions of companies.
The one that really struck me though was that in Orville and Wright were what year?
I think it was 1914 or 1908. I'm trying to remember.
So basically 66 years and we're on the moon.
Yeah.
That, like, from a guy that could fly 120 yards or whatever it was to we're on the moon.
But if you look at Saturn V, you know
ridiculous.
You know how many people were on Saturn V, worked on Saturn V? Lots of people. It's like, and they spent, the project cost $6.417 billion in 1964. But now it would cost much more. It would cost, and the main people involved were Boeing, North American, Douglas, and many other big companies, you know? So it's a lot of money, and it was very risky at that time. You know, they did not have all iPhone. iPhone has more power, more computational power, like the old iPhone, than the entire computational ability on the space Saturn V. When someone was saying that. I don't remember that if that's true. The computer that went to the moon had less computational power than an iPhone.
Yeah, definitely. Your cell phone has like a computer built in. Well, I won't even take it back that far. Your computer built in 1998,
right,
is less powerful than your phone.
Right. Or even the supercomputer, Cray computer of the 1970s and 80s is less powerful than your iPhone.
Just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, how much effort they took, manually putting those connections that were irregular on the Crays. That guy Seymour Cray and all the hard work that was done by many people at that time. All the normalization that has happened since then, all these off-the-shelf components, or specialized components, people working together via standards, something started by, in the beginning of the 80s with a personal computer. I think standardization brings a lot of credo to that. I think if we want to get to Mars, we have to build standards, space standards, and have industry-wide standards to get us all the way there. You know, build a committee of, build a standard of you know, or you know, because we want to have competition, because competition brings great Herculean challenges.
Well, and the thing is too is that like I think it's very important that we remember as you know, technicians and people who are into electronics, that there are cogs and wheels, and that's not what we do.
All right.
Like, I learned that the hard way. You know, I personally, you know, I work with basically the nuts and bolts of keeping a hotel up and running.
Right.
And what you end up learning really quickly is that old guy who's been around here for a long time knows a lot more than you.
Right.
Because he knows how things operate. Like, and it's not that I'm not able. Like, I've certainly, you know, fixed ballasts and done things like that. But, however, he's like, well, yeah, but the guy before you, the guy before that, it, like, you run into a lot of that. Like, it's not what you, it's, you're basically looking at what three people did and trying to figure it out.
Right.
Which makes it much more complicated, because now you're trying to go through three different people's heads and figure out why they did what they did. Right. And it's complicated.
Oh, so you're talking about levels of separation between you and a particular person, and your message, how it's conveyed from person to person. That's the beauty
not that anybody's unintelligent. It's that everybody had a solution. However, when it breaks down, you don't know about that, and they're not there to help. They're not there to tell you. So you have to go through this reverse
engineering.
Yeah, of trying to figure out why they did what they did.
Right. And empathetic reverse engineering.
And it's problematic. It really is, because, like, if I'm wrong, I can seriously screw this up.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing about going to Mars one day is how do you bring all these people together? How do you build them to use their talent, optimize their talent to make it so efficient that you can build it in the least amount of money, and use that extra money to make it more redundant, to make it more safe, to have multiple backup plans, all these things. This is you know, someone could just take this and run with it, you know, and do something amazing for humanity.
It is one of the things that Google has gotten right.
Right. Scale and speed.
Well, no, it's that they treat their people appropriately. Like, they're like, look, there is no reason for you to leave. Those people will work there till they're 90.
Right.
So if you need to talk to the guy who first started this, like, you probably can, because he hasn't left. Because you know why? Because everything's fine. Like, he didn't retire because he didn't like his job, or he was just tired, or, you know, whatever. I mean, short of an illness, no one leaves Google.
Yeah.
And they treat their people well. And part of that, I'm sure, like, part of inlaid in that is that, well, we need you later. When someone has a problem, you can go, I wrote that code.
Right.
They don't have to reverse engineer it. They can just talk to the guy who wrote it. It's much easier to go that route.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Changing topics. What do you think about Amy Schumer?
Oh, who's that? What did you say?
Amy Schumer.
Oh, Amy Schumer. Oh, yeah. Well,
Comedian.
yeah.
Comedian. Gotta throw that "and" on there.
I've not really followed her show per se. I don't know. It's not because it's not any of the channels that I watch. I watch the TBS show with Conan and the other lady who used to be. But I never watched Amy Schumer.
Well,
I watched Comedy Central. Yeah.
She's had plenty of movies, and she's quite topical.
Okay. What has she said in the past?
Well, basically, she's not very much of a Trump supporter.
Okay.
And she's very outspoken about it.
Okay.
And she sometimes ends up in rooms that it doesn't work.
Like Bill Maher's show. Real Time with Bill Maher.
No, I don't think she's ever showed up on Bill Maher, but she's a very strong, opinionated woman.
Yeah.
I hate to make comparisons, but between her and Meryl Streep just honestly, I think she says things that just get buzz.
Yeah. Right.
Amy Schumer, on the other hand, just says what she's thinking and doesn't really care if you like it. And she's gotten buzz because of that, but some of it's negative, some of it's positive, obviously. Like, there are people on that side of the fence. But
she's best friends with Seth Meyers.
Yes.
He's a really funny guy. I remember him from Weekend Update on SNL. That was really cool stuff. That was the prime time of Weekend Update. They had it on Thursday. They had it on Saturday. And then before that it was a bunch of other people, including Norm Macdonald and Kevin Nealon. But I really like Seth Meyers. His show, late night show. So.
Yeah, well, and then you end up with the thing with Louis C.K.
I follow her on Twitter too, but I never see her messages ever. Somehow that's very.
Have you ever seen Louis C.K.?
Yeah, I've not seen Louis C.K. I've just seen him once on Comedy Central. We have to sync up our favorite people of the week more often because somehow I watch Chris Rock and this Haas, the guy from Daily Show, Minaj. Hassan Minaj, or whatever his name is, and this guy, what is it? Aziz Ansari.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Aziz. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
But you end up in these situations where, you got Bill Cosby and Aziz Ansari, and they're all in this Me Too movement, and Bill Cosby, for that matter.
Yeah.
There's this question of, so does all of your work just become unimportant because you did these horrible things?
Right. It's kind of like that movie with Denzel Washington where he saves, he's on a plane and he saves them by doing a belly land of a plane. outside of the runway, and then they come after him and sabotage the rest of his by coming after him. Have you heard of that movie? Have you seen that movie?
Yes.
It's a very interesting movie.
But it's one of those things where it's like, well, that was just a movie.
Yeah.
But like, these guys actually like,
Flight. Yeah, the name of the movie is Flight. Yeah.
They were accused of these things. Like this, let's not make judgment, but
yeah.
Whatever the case may be, like, does that take away their body of work? I mean,
right. Like Ray Charles. If you see that movie with Jamie, I'm having a really bad day with names. What is his name? Jamie. Because he had certain sides to him. They focused on those sides because those are entertaining or those are sensationalized, rather than his body of music, because that would be a feel-good movie, and people would be more interested in knowing the other side of Ray Charles rather than the music side of Ray Charles, which would be the same thing that the mainstream media tells.
Well, or, coming from a position as a musician,
yeah,
like I knew Jerry Lee Lewis married his 16-year-old
cousin,
niece or whatever it was. Like I was like, well, that's really weird. Like I wasn't okay with it.
Einstein married his cousin.
Oh, cousin, yeah, that's what it was.
First cousin.
I wasn't okay with it. At the same time, though, he's still a great musician. Like it doesn't. Like it's hard to. You can't steal that from him.
Right.
Like I don't agree with that.
Or Woody Allen with Mia Farrow and then her.
Right.
Her,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like there's bad things there. There's no doubt. But it's hard to argue.
Right.
Like you can't say he wasn't a great musician.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do. Even Michael Jackson, and we obviously know what he did. And
yeah, they'll eventually have a movie on him. I can bet that. Yeah.
You can't take away though that he was a great musician. Like, yes, yeah. I do agree. I disagree with everything he did. Like that was horrible.
Yeah.
However, then you get into this thing of like, well, look at his childhood, and like there was a systematic abuse here.
Right.
And not that that's not an excuse. But
right.
Like we can obviously build a case of how he got to that point.
Right.
And so like where do you like how do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? Like I think the line should be simple. He's a piece of crap, but he made good music. And that should be the line. Like,
right.
Yeah, your music was great. You as a person, you're horrible.
Right.
I mean, let's look at, like, when you look at, like, Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses, like, yeah, you were a piece of crap. Like, but your music's awesome. We could do that with Led Zeppelin. There was, like, a story about a fish and some girl and a sexual experience with a fish. Like, what? Like, who does that? That's not even... However, Led Zeppelin made great music.
Yeah. It's like Aerosmith was the drug-free band. That was pretty cool for them. That's what my friend used to tell me all the time. So they had some good music, really good music with Amazing and Crying. So those were my two favorite tracks from Aerosmith. With the virtual reality headset.
Crying's a great song.
Yeah.
I lost him when I got to Pink. When he started to like, Pink is my favorite color, I'm like, okay, dude, come on now.
Right.
We're getting way too poppy. I can't do it.
Yeah. Right.
However, I think this is a good place to end it.
Yeah, this is great. Great conversation today. I really enjoyed your questions, Bobby. And I cannot wait for our conversation next week. So this is Shyamal Chandra and Bobby Brooks at the Techno Kungfu podcast, live from Pittsburgh, Kansas, on March 4th, Sunday,